Interior Panchen's residence, Tibet, night. The Panchen Lama eats dinner quietly by himself. He appears deep in thought. After a few moments, he pushes his meal aside. Interior bedroom, Panchen's residence, Tibet, night. Seated on his bed, the Panchen Lama quietly chants a mantra. A knock on the door.
Come in.
A young monk attendant, Lobsang, enters.
You asked for me, Your Holiness?
Yes, thank you. Could you get me an extra blanket? I feel a chill.
Yes, Your Holiness.
Interior corridor, Panchen's residence, Tibet, night. Lobsang carries a blanket down a corridor. He sees nearly a dozen Chinese soldiers blocking his entry to the Panchen Lama's room. One of the soldiers, gun in tow, steps in front of Lobsang and addresses him sternly.
Where are you going?
Taking a blanket to His Holiness.
Go away. He doesn't need it.
Lobsang looks quizzically at the guard for a moment.
Go away, I said.
The soldier impatiently strikes him with his rifle butt, and Lobsang stumbles down the hallway as he looks back fearfully. Interior bedroom, Panchen's residence, Tibet, night. The Panchen Lama sleeps. A clock ticks. 2 a.m. He suddenly bolts upright as if from a bad dream. He is sweating and holds his stomach. Interior Panchen's residence, Tibet, night. A monk physician, 55, arrives at the entrance of the Panchen Lama's room. The Chinese soldiers are still there. One of them nods. The monk physician goes inside.
Have you been taking your medication?
Of course.
You wouldn't lie to me, would you?
Of course.
Even the Panchen Lama is not immune to high blood pressure.
The Panchen Lama eyes him over.
You seem nervous.
They're watching you tonight?
As if I was going somewhere.
Please take these. I'll check you again later.
He places 2 tablets on the nightstand next to the Panchen Lama's bed and leaves. A full glass of water is already on the nightstand. Interior Panchen's residence, Tibet, sunrise. After sunrise, Lobsang knocks on the door. Oddly, there are now no soldiers. Hearing no answer, he quietly enters. The 2 tablets left by the monk physician are still on the nightstand, but the glass of water is empty. On the floor of the room, Lobsang sees the Panchen Lama's crumpled body. Trembling, he checks for a pulse. A muffled cry of anguish escapes his mouth, and he runs out screaming.
He's gone. He is gone.
Exterior, main gate, Tashilhumpo Monastery, Tibet, day. 2 helicopters land in front of the monastery. Gyaltsen Norbu, seen earlier in the opening sequence with Hu Jintao, exits from one of the helicopters and walks towards the monastery gate. He is greeted by another squad of Chinese soldiers and eyes them through large sunglasses. A Chinese woman, Li Ji, 50, exits the second helicopter. Although Chinese, she is dressed in an elaborate Tibetan chuba and carries herself with an aristocratic air. Exterior courtyard, Teshilhumpo Monastery, Tibet, day. Gyaltsen Norbu walks through the gate flanked by a dozen soldiers. He is greeted by a group of shouting monks and lamas.
Murderers! Murderers!
Norbu stops, as do the soldiers. The monks stop shouting. Both sides face each other in silence. The soldiers hold their guns, fingers poised on the trigger, seemingly ready to shoot at Norbu's command. Norbu steps toward the monks. They remain silent. Sensing his victory, he nods to the soldiers and they march past. The monks mutter to each other under their breath.
Traitor! Murderer!
Norbu approaches Chadrel, the abbot of the monastery.
Where's the body?
He shouldn't be moved without proper ceremonies.
Check the residence.
Interior bedroom, Panchen's residence, Tibet, day. The door flings open to the room where the Panchen Lama died. 4 Chinese doctors hover around the body. Gyaltsen removes his sunglasses and looks coldly over the scene. Chadrel enters the room. Gyaltsen barks an order to the doctors.
Come with me.
Gyaltsen leaves the room. The doctors follow. Chadrel stays. Li Ji enters the room. Chadrel is taken aback.
What are you doing here?
I've come for what is mine.
Li Ji looks furtively for something in the room. She finally finds a small, embroidered bag in a secret compartment in one of the wooden boxes against the wall. She puts the bag into the folds of her juba.
The keys to his deposit boxes. I can't believe it.
Li Ji raises her hand to silence him. She pauses a moment. As she looks at the Panchen Lama's body, her eyes fill with tears. She turns away quickly and hurries past Chadrel. Interior Shrine Room Number 1, a monastery, Tibet, day. Several monks and a lone civilian, Sengchen, 50, sit together to perform a mo, divination. The elderly head lama, Nagchen, 65, announces the results. Nagchen is a distinctly confident and mature presence.
The Panchen Lama's reincarnation will be born in Tibet.
He looks at some of the other monks.
The selection process must begin. We must locate child candidates.
Sengchen, the lone civilian, looks at the others.
I'll inform the government immediately.
And also the abbot of Tashilhunpo, as is tradition.
So they say.
Sengchen stands and leaves. The monks watch him distrustfully. Exterior, Lake Lamo-Latso, Tibet, day. Superimpose. Lake Lamo-Latso, Tibet, 1 year later. Nagchen Rinpoche, from the previous scene, walks alone on the shore of the expansive and beautiful glacial lake. High mountain peaks surround the area. He sits, assuming a meditative pose. As he meditates, images flash before his eyes, including images of the 10th Panchen Lama, but also of several little Tibetan boys. Toward the end of his meditation, the image of a particular boy's face becomes prominent. Nagchen Rinpoche opens his eyes. Interior, Alison McPherson's house, London, day. Alison McPherson, 40, an attractive Scottish woman, is at her birthday party with assorted friends and her husband Shawn, 45, a British man. Also, there are her 2 children, Sophie, 6, and Thomas, 11. Alison lifts Sophie up over a birthday cake with 40 candles and asks Sophie to blow out the candles. She tries, but can't, so Alison finishes the job.
And what did you wish for your mum?
To stay home and play with me all day.
A short time later, Shawn corners Alison near the kitchen and holds her tight.
How's it feel to be 40?
About the same as 39, actually. How did it feel for you?
I was devastated. Depressed for weeks.
You were not. You were very happy.
Later, Alison's friend Frances, 45, raises a glass of champagne.
Here's to Alison on her 40th.
All raise their glasses.
You know, Alison and I go back quite a ways. Back to university, actually. Of course, she was quite the radical then. Now, here she is, happy, domesticated, living in suburban splendor.
Alison yawns a little.
Not quite splendor.
A slight exaggeration. Radical journalists rarely turn out well.
I've conformed. I'm under control at the BBC.
Alison laughs, as does everyone else. Interior, BBC offices, London, day. Alison walks into the open workspace of the BBC and plops her bags down on a desk in a low-walled cubicle. Roger, 60, an Englishman, pokes his head out of his office and wags his finger for her to come in. Roger seems world-weary and has a cynical edge. Once inside, Roger sits behind his desk and motions her to sit. She notices another man, James, 35, also English, already sitting in another chair in front of Roger's desk. James is quite handsome, but comes across as somewhat shallow.
Alison, you've met James Tyson, haven't you?
Briefly.
Bombay, wasn't it?
Right. How could I forget?
He's over here in London for a bit to do some film work for us. Documentaries. I want you to go on assignment with him.
Roger lays a picture of the Dalai Lama on his desk. Alison picks it up.
The Dalai Lama. He's recently won the Nobel Peace Prize. We'd like an interview. A light human interest story. I want you and James to put something together for the breakfast time show. You know, morning coffee type stuff.
Morning coffee?
Just make it something Selena Scott can deliver with a straight face. It could develop into something else. Hopefully a documentary.
Insert. Picture of the Dalai Lama.
I figure with your China background you'd be a good match.
Alison puts the picture back on his desk.
He's Tibetan, not Chinese.
Yes, of course. Excuse my lack of sophistication.
Tibet and China have completely different languages and culture.
Excellent observation. And that's why you're ideal for this assignment.
He leans over and hands the picture back to her. She looks at it again.
You agreed to no travel for 6 months.
I did, didn't I?
It's a beautiful part of India, up in the mountains. Dharmasala.
I need you on this one, Alison. It's a good opportunity for you, and you'll be doing your bit to keep ITV off your arse. Work with James on this, follow his lead, and I promise you can start your 6 months travel break when you get back.
That's what you said after Nigeria.
Roger shrugs. Interior BBC offices, London, day. Outside of Roger's office, James follows Alison to her desk, carrying some folders.
It'll be a super assignment, I think.
Let's hope so.
Here's some background information.
He hands her a folder.
The Dalai Lama is becoming quite popular.
Yes, sort of like a balding Princess Diana.
She opens the folder and glances at the contents.
He's a little bit of an anachronism, I'd say. A feudal holdover from a dead era. You'll have to excuse me, I'm not exactly pro-religion.
But he's really unique. A student of philosophy and Western science. Quite sophisticated, actually. And Buddhism isn't exactly a religion.
If the men dress up in robes and don't like sex, it's a religion.
She flips through the folder until she sees another picture of the Dalai Lama.
He definitely has a kind face.
He's got potential, I think. Sort of like Gandhi. I would think you'd have some sympathy for Gandhi.
She tucks the folder under her arm and grabs her purse.
Scottish National Party and all that. A bit of spying for the SNP. I even heard you got on the Christmas tree list.
I never spied for the SMP.
Really? That's not what I heard.
Well, that was a long time ago.
Annoyed, she walks away.
I actually found it all quite interesting. Tell me more about it over lunch?
Sorry, I have an appointment.